in the ordinariness of life. We find God in creation in the first place, and then we find God through our religious beliefs and our religious structures as well. So we'll just reflect on this one for a moment, in the ordinary circumstances of our lives, in the beauty and the intricacy of creation. One of the things that has fascinated me recently is the number of scientists who have rediscovered God by virtue of their own scientific research. One of the guys who has been very involved in mapping the genome, who would have been atheistic an atheist for most of his life, has been so fascinated by the complexity of the genome and the structure of the human being, that he said, like, there's no way that this can have happened by chance, that it has to be the product of an intelligent creator, that it has led him back to the idea of God. He said it's as ridiculous to say that it could have happened by chance, that we could have arrived by chance, as it is to say you could get a group of monkeys and put them into a room, and that at the end of a year or so that they could come up with the text of Macbeth or King Lear or Hamlet or something of that kind. In fact, they did put 10 monkeys into a room and gave them typewriter or laptops, and they hammered away at them for about, however it was, 8 or 9 months. And at the end of it, there wasn't one coherent word out of the whole thing when they actually scanned it, which is fascinating. So reflection on the creation itself can lead us to a rediscovery of God, of God's action, God's creativity. We find echoes of God and of God's presence, of God's action in the kindness of those around us. When we look at somebody who takes care of a child with a handicap, or a spouse with a serious illness, or maybe a terminal illness, or somebody looking after an aged parent, or somebody who goes out of their way to look after a neighbour, take care of them, where there's no recompense or there's no obvious advantage to it. That in that we see goodness at work. We see sheer goodness itself, where there's no obvious reward for it, or where it's not done out of self-interest. In the struggles of conscience, when we attempt to make good moral decisions, when we try to do the right thing, when we try to act with truth and integrity and responsibility, that struggle to do what is good and right is again touching into something of God's presence and God's action in our lives. So there's a deep yearning in us to do good, to find the truth and to live by it, to overcome selfishness, to be courageous and generous in our actions. Wherever we find that, there God is at work. There's something greater than ourselves, something that transcends our own maybe natural inclinations at times. That gives us a hint of the presence and the action of God. So maybe the challenge is for us to reflect on that a little more, to notice what's going on there, that there's something more at work than we sometimes realise. So in all of this, God is already at work in us, even before we name God. God is already there at work in all these kinds of areas. One of the things when I think of the beauty of creation, you all know John Moriarty, I'm sure, down here. In one of his essays, John has a lovely thing where he's, I don't know, is it out in Listowel or somewhere in Killarney, and He's surrounded by the beauty of the lakes and the mountains and so on. And he's overcome by the sheer beauty of it all. And he says he escaped into a ruined church to get away from God's presence. And he wasn't going into the church to encounter God, he went to escape from God. So there is that presence of God all around us if we're attentive or alert to it. Michael Paul Gallagher, who is an Irish Jesuit working in Rome, so you read his books, and he has this kind of musing of one of the great theologians, Karl Rahner. He imagines Rahner talking, and this is what he has him saying. He says, in the adventure of my humanity, I have sensed the guidance of God's mystery, close to me and creative in me. I have come to discover God as an artist's presence in the adventure of my life. In the flow of my daily choices, I have recognized the healing touch of Christ, eroding my ego into generosity in hidden ways. In the silence of my heart, I know something of the artistry of the Spirit, shaping my life towards a love beyond imagining. I think it's a great kind of summary of that God is like the artist behind the scenes at work in me, changing me, transforming me, shaping me and conforming me more to the mind and heart of Christ. Is constantly asking us to conform to some kind of external expectations, whereas the church is really at its best calling forth what is best in us so that we can flourish, not that we're restricted or straitjacketed, even though it seems like that sometimes. It's to call us to the fullness of life. So we allow all of that, the scriptures, the liturgy, the life and the teaching of the church, we allow those to inform and shape our lives. I think one of the great challenges for us is the challenge to be attentive, to notice where God is at work, to notice where God is at work in the ordinariness of our lives, and where God is at work in the more explicitly religious domain and activities of our lives. How do we listen to and notice God's presence so that we can respond and that our lives can in fact be enriched rather than either inhibited or restricted by God. In the past few days, sheer goodness of other people and in our relationships with other people, where there has been a genuine effort to seek and speak the truth, there God is at work. Where there is real beauty, there God is at work. Whether it's the landscape or a sunrise or a sunset, or the smile of a newborn child, or the gracefulness of a person in old age, wherever we find that beauty, there God is at work. There the invitation is to celebrate the presence of God, to notice and to celebrate the presence of God. Again, where have we been surprised or challenged by a story from the Bible? It might be one of the stories or one of the parables of Jesus, or just the activity or the ministry of Jesus himself. Have we been surprised or somehow changed or caused, received some kind of wake-up call maybe on something we've heard in the church, on a holiday, something maybe even in the newsletter, something we've read in a journal or a magazine? Have we been surprised by that? Maybe an inspiring religious leader, it might be even the Pope this evening. What surprise does he bring us? Or it may be somebody It might be the parish priest, or it might be a religious sister in the parish, or it could be somebody representing the church, maybe in that way, that might have inspired us in some way. It might be a religious group or a community, even any of the groups in the parish, the Vincent de Paul or the Legion of Mary or others who have helped us to see. So we need that sense of wonder and awe, as well as the help offered by the Christian community in its scriptures, in its liturgies, and in its want to share it too. If we have somehow been changed, or transformed, or enriched, or enabled to flourish in some way, then it's something we will genuinely want to share with others. And there are a variety of ways that we might want to do that. I'm just going to move on. Of the witness of his own life as a way of handing on the faith, of attracting others to the way of faith and to the way of the gospel. So that's the first way any of us will communicate before we say anything to anybody. Obviously, the first responsibility in handing on the faith will belong to parents. A responsibility they accept in baptism. Again, something that has to be supported by the rest of the family. Grandparents play a huge role. The extended family, the support and the encouragement they give by their own witness. It may be a baptismal team in the parish, kind of peer support that other parents might give, or members of a baptismal team. The parish itself, and the preparation that it offers parents preparing for baptism, the kind of liturgies and prayer that's offered, maybe visiting families. How do we support the faith life of people at that stage? Again, through the school, a lot happens. The school does a great job, but it needs to be building on something that's happening at home. It needs to be augmented as well by what's happening in the wider parish community. So there's a kind of a coming together there of home and family and parish.